How is everybody doing? I'm good. Time is almost 8 o'clock in Houston, Texas. How is everybody doing? I would like to talk about something that has been on my mind this last few weeks, about the issue of Western coalitions, and in terms of what they are based on, and in terms of why does it seem, to me at least, that these Western alliances are actually fundamentally predicated on taking advantage of the US and actually ripping off the US. And it seems to me that the American citizens are waking up to this and they are just having none of it. And I'll tell you where does this issue come from. But let's go into it. I think we are now all aware in terms of the bust-up that happened in the White House, the People's House, between the President of the United States, Donald John Trump, and on one side, and J.D. Vance, the Vice President, and the President of the Republic of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky. And then just also discuss about how this guy was so entitled of the financial assistance that the United States have been giving his country for the past 3 years. Assistance that the US has no legal obligations to be giving these people any money, but they are giving them money, taxpayer money, out of the goodness of their hearts. And having watched the response of Europeans from this, it has become very clear to me that it's not just the Ukrainians who are entitled to American taxpayer assistance. It's Europe in its entirety. And these people are actually so belligerent in their entitlement of United States taxpayer money. And I've had to have a look in terms of what's really going on. They're accusing the US that unless the US is saying, no, we're not spending our taxpayer money on wars that have nothing to do with us, that means the US is turning away from its Western allies. The US is embracing Russia and all that crap. And then I've realized recently from I was watching a France 24 segment. Now I couldn't find because I wanted to cite it actually in this video, where they actually showed that of all the financial assistance that Ukraine has received in the past 3 years, 49% of that was from the United States of America, which means 51% of that was from Europe. But when we say Europe, we mean this is 20 plus nations on one side versus one side. Oh, let me include Canada, by the way, Canada and Australia and New Zealand. So also the 51%. So all of these nations, I'll just say 20 plus, because a lot of these European nations don't have enough money to contribute anything. On one side, their entirety of their contribution is 51%, and the US, one country, their contribution is 49%. So okay, look at it this way. That 51% includes Germany, France, the United Kingdom, which includes 4 countries, by the way, 3 or 4 countries, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, Italy, Romania, Poland, which that's just 9 nations. And you're saying that, and I'm estimating that there will be more than maybe going up to 20, who contribute probably very small amounts. But then the question is that, so all of these nations, collectively, their contribution is almost equal to the contribution that is being made by one nation. And you guys are telling me that this is fair. This is fair to the United States of America. This is fair to the United States of American taxpayers who have nothing to do with this war that is happening in Ukraine. Please explain that to me. And then when there's a president, a United States of America president that says, no more, we are not paying any more dime for wars that have nothing to do with us without us getting anything in return for that. You are accusing him of being a Russian puppet. You are accusing him of walking away from Western alliances. What is the meaning of these alliances when it means that they are so lopsided? And then I also realized that NATO, the United States, contributes 65% of the funds in NATO. 65%. And you tell me all of these NATO countries, which includes all of these countries I've just named now, and then you include Turkey as well. You include countries like Finland, Denmark. You include Hungary. You include all of these nations. They only contribute 35%. How is this fair, guys? How is this fair to American taxpayers? And then Donald Trump has been fighting this issue of NATO and NATO partners not paying their fair share since 2016. And then him fighting for his country to be treated fairly, he's been accused of undermining America's allies. Really? Is this what is happening? Would any of these countries find it acceptable if they were expected to pay 65% of the NATO funds? And then if they said, no, guys, we can't carry all of this burden, they'll be accused of not standing with their allies. Guys, the world has been treating the US very unfairly. And it has only taken Donald Trump to come to the world stage and to say, no more, this ends right here. This ends right here. And because he's fighting for his country to be treated fairly, he's called all kinds of names. I mean, if you're watching the news reports from the UK, from France, whether it's the BBC or Channel 4 or ITV or Sky News, you would swear that the United States is actually not carrying these nations in terms of their defense requirements. And actually, they are basically saying that unless the US continues to accept being mistreated like this, the US is walking away from its allies. How is this fair? You always have to apply the shoe on the other foot principle to actually see if this were a fair situation. Because this issue goes even to the issue of why Donald Trump has discontinued all of these charity things like foreign aid. The amount of money the US is spending on foreign aid, guys. If your country, as a South African, if my country was spending so much money on foreign aid while the country is indebted to the tune of $36 trillion, I also wouldn't accept it. It's just not acceptable. I know that people are upset because a lot of programs are being affected, but guys, this is not sustainable. And American taxpayers they're just sick of it. And then now there's the issue of tariffs now. No one mistreats the United States of America like her closest allies, like Canada, like the EU. All of these nations have tariffs on American goods, all of them. They have major tariffs. And if it's not tariffs, it's subsidies. And then Donald Trump is saying, no more, it ends right here. Why are we subsidizing these nations? And then when he says that America is going to fight back, you accusing him of starting a trade war. You don't want to talk about how all of these nations have been treating America for the past 40 years. No, guys, this needs to stop. It really needs to stop. And Donald Trump is right about a lot of these things. Canada mistreats the United States. Mexico mistreats the United States. The EU. No one mistreats the United States like the European Union. You just have to look at all of the trade imbalances and the tariffs that they have. It's just simply untenable. And so in a lot of these instances, you will never get a fair representation of what's actually happening because the media lies. The media lies so much that it's very hard for any one of us to actually know what's actually going on. But Donald Trump has had the fortitude to fight against this. It has to stop. It has to stop. So I really would like to hear what everyone else thinks about this. Any nation that spends the way that the United States spends on all this foolishness will bankrupt itself. And we already have a report from the Congressional Budget Office, which projected the United States of America will be bankrupt in the next 40 years if it continues to spend in the fashion that it's spending. And a lot of this spending is unjustifiable. Why is the United States of America spending so much to defend Europe, some of the richest nations in the world? Can someone explain that to me? Europe can't explain that to me. The only thing that I've seen with European nations is how entitled they are to American taxpayers. And it ends here. Yeah, that's my view on this. Yeah, so I'd like to hear what your thoughts are.